My money machine go beep, I love the sound that it make. Plus all these racks I'm count, I think that my machine bout to break. Secure the bag, yeah, that's the brand, and we get to the bag. These private flights, Miami nice, these Gucci bags full of cash.
What's going on, family? It's your man Tay Sweat here once again, and I have another Money Monday for you, right? Another Money Monday, and you know, we still getting to the bag, so I gotta keep bringing these Money Mondays with my man E. What's going on, E?
What's good, man? Another one, right?
Yes,
Just keep
sir.
bringing the hits.
Yes, sir.
DJ Khaled told him what we doing.
And so, before we get started, I need you all to know, if you have a topic or a question you want us to cover, just leave us a 5-star review and leave your question in the review. We will get to it, we will answer it, and we'll make it good. So what are we talking about today, E? Basically, there is this, I don't really like it. Let me just say that first. But there is this popular thing going around where people who are not so rich or not well off are speaking on what rich people actually do or why they do or don't do certain things. And it really, pisses me off when people do that because they don't know what they're talking about. But you'll often hear things like, or you'll see videos on Instagram and YouTube of somebody saying, hey, rich people don't wear expensive clothes and designer brands and yada, 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 and, all this other bullshit, right? And it's from a position of looking up and into a window that they can't even see. That's kind of how I see it, right? It's like you're speaking on 8-figure, 9-figure, 10-figure earners, and you barely got 6, right? That's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me. And I want to explain a few things about how this actually works. And the reason why is because Black and brown people especially are hearing this advice and using it somewhat. They're trying to apply it, but not fully understanding what the quote unquote rich people are doing and why they don't wear certain brands. Because if we understood that ownership, if we understood that, the what would some people say, the avatar of the person, if you understood brand, personal brand, you would understand why they're not wearing some of these things, right? So we're gonna get into that because I think that is what most Black and brown people need to hear. Not to say stop buying nice stuff that you actually like, but to understand that, hey, if you actually just poured the money into your brand or into something that you personally own, fair game, baby, fair game. So, E, I'm gonna let you start off on this one, man. What you think about that? When people say, hey, rich people aren't wearing, or the really rich or the really wealthy people aren't wearing designer stuff, how do you feel about that?
Well, the first thing I always do is, well, who do you know that's really rich? Right? Like, who are you talking to that's really that rich? Because you're speaking as if you got, a circle of people that you know, and you've like surveyed them and actually understand and know that. But the first thing that comes to my mind is you just don't see it, right? It doesn't mean they're not doing it. You don't see it. And then 2, honestly, and a lot of people don't like this one, you don't know what really nice stuff even looks like. You don't know where to find it. You don't know how much it costs. You see them, you're like, oh, that looks simple. That's not something I would wear. And you discredit and in your mind, you discount how much that actually costs.
Absolutely.
And I would say something, when you actually start to be around people that have high net worths and you start to understand the things that they do, how they spend their money, a lot of times their clothes, like you said, their avatar, like that's not part of their branding, right? Somebody else's brand is not part of their brand. And understand what Tay was saying there. It's not part of their brand. And 2, when they're going into spaces, a lot of times they've accomplished so much. They're not trying to prove something through somebody else's name on their body, right? Or somebody else's clothing. What they've already done is accomplished a lot of their goals. And so they're picking stuff for comfort.
Yes.
Or they're picking things for a certain type of culture that they're in. And a lot of times, you'll see, I always use this one just because it was something that I studied and like paid a lot of attention to, especially early in my career. It was men who were dressed, quote unquote, for success. right? And what kind of, like, what they were wearing and the suits and whatever. And you're like, yeah, you just wear a suit. Like, he's wearing a suit. And then you start to realize it's levels to that. Like, it's some suits out there that literally cost more than people's cars, and some that even cost more than people's houses.
Yep.
But you'll look at it, and just in a photo, you're like, nice suit. And you're like, yeah, wealthy people don't spend their money on nice stuff. He wears a suit every day. Da, da, da. And I'm like, look, a week's worth of that man's clothes is more money than you will probably see in your life sometimes. Like, there are some people that have suits that are worth $20,000, $30,000. They put them on, they walk around in them, honestly, because they like that, they're comfortable, and they're not flashy enough to tell you, oh, this is really expensive. But you don't know that, right? Because you just that's not your world.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people now too. You have the, where they put the pictures up. And it's like, well, when you're rich, right, quote unquote rich,
Yes,
you have these really, really flashy, flamboyant stuff. But when you're wealthy, right, and when you've already kind of like, you and your next like 4 or 5 generations are set, they wearing like just the downest looking stuff. And I ain't gonna lie, it's not really my style. So I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I probably wouldn't wear nothing that down. But I'm like, they don't care what I think. Right. Therefore, that's why they wearing exactly that. And then I also think too, when they say really rich people don't wear like really expensive stuff, a lot of times really rich people do wear expensive stuff. Absolutely. And sometimes they don't pay for it. People give it to them. Bingo. Like, people say, because of who you are, wear this, please. Right? Yes. Like people want you to put it on just so they can get credit that you wore their stuff. So when I think of all those different scenarios and people say that wealthy people don't really like wear nice stuff, I think wealthy people don't wear what you would consider as nice stuff. Right. And very expensive things. And two, you just don't really know. And I just shrug it off, because I'm like, you like you said, I love that analogy. You looking up through a window and you can't really see in. So everybody just goes off of what they think they believe. Exactly. And they think in their minds, somebody that wealthy, if they spend a lot of money for them in particular, it would look like this. Yep. And to me, that's you're just not that kind of person. Like, what you would spend your money on if you were worth a couple $1 billion is not what they spend their money on. And guess what? They're already worth a couple $1 billion. So maybe you should just try to look at them and be like, what are they spending their money on? But that's how I feel about it. To answer your question, I think it's you got to be knowledgeable about what you speak on, because if not, you look like a fool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what burns me up about it the most, is that a lot of our people are just sounding and looking like fools. What we say, loud and wrong, right? They're loud and wrong. And I say this because a few reasons, but the biggest one is, of course, I don't really like to say it like this, and it's weird when people say it like this, but it's like, hey, you do know you're talking about me and people like me, right? Like, and of course, a lot of people don't want to say, because I used to get that all the time. If somebody actually says, this is why I don't even like give myself like titles anymore, because it doesn't work. If you say, hey, I'm one of those rich people you're talking about, it's like, well, are you really rich? Like, what does rich really mean? Like, you get all these questions, right? And it's like, lady, if I dumped 10% of my net worth in your bank, you would go, oh fuck, I'm rich, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I'm rich.
So
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Like, first of all, you're just like, all right, we're just not gonna go there. But I have to address this portion of it and what I personally see. And as someone who gets to hang, or who not gets to hang, let me say it this way, someone who lives next door, right, to these people who are billionaires, who are 9-figure earners, we're going to games together. We're going to, we're living next to each other. We drive the same cars. Like, I see it and I'm like, they buy they buy nice shit. What are you talking about? I'm like, oh, wait. Who are we talking about then? And a lot of times what we tend to see is that they're talking about the Warren Buffetts of the world. They're talking about the Jeff Bezos, things like that. Now, let me say this, first of all, to start this thing off, because I got a list. There are about 4 things that I want to talk about. And you kind of hit a few of them, but I got to dive in.
I hit all of them, yeah.
Because the number one reason why I'm always like, you should actually pay attention to who and what you're talking about is because, keep in mind, majority of the rich people, like really, really rich people, especially here in America, we're nerds. Right? We're nerds. There's no swag. There's no, right? We're nerds. Most of us went to school in like the bottom of the drawer type of shit. Like, look, just give me a t-shirt and some shorts and some shoes that don't fuck up my feet. right? We didn't really need a lot of stuff, you know. And I'd say, you know, I'm one of the most swaggy nerds, but like we're like for the most part, like we're fucking nerds. Like we are very smart, and we use our smarts to get to the top financially, right? So when you're talking about some of the high end nerds, the Warren Buffetts and the fucking, you know, the Bill Gates, you expecting them to go throw on some designer swaggy stuff and have iced out chains and all this shit? No, these are literally nerds you're talking about. Khakis, tucked in shirts, and some loafers or some shit. Like this is like what they wear because that's what they know, right? So that's my number one thing. Like, well, I'm always saying, I'm like, listen, you're comparing something, like you're comparing people who have style. You're comparing people who have like some sense of fashion to people who don't. That's the number one thing. Yeah. So of course they're not going to wear designer, or they're not going to care what they have, because even if they have a girlfriend or somebody who they're around who cares, they're like, I'm rich. Shut up. You can wear that, but I'm rich.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one. Number two, brand. Right? And like I said, you mentioned the brand. It doesn't match their brand, or it doesn't go with their brand and what they are perceiving to, you know, try to do with their brand. But inside of that brand, what people don't realize, because he mentioned this as well, the reason why these companies will give the clothes out to some of these high net worth individuals to say, hey, look, they're wearing our stuff, is because that's going to generate sales, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking about a nerd who has a personal brand, who actually knows what's going on, the first thing they're going to say is, hey, I'm not wearing your shit voluntarily. I'm not going to put a fucking logo across my chest knowing that you can take a screenshot of me and put it on your website and say, Warren Buffett wears blank. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The clothing line of the billionaires, right? Like they're not going to wear these things because it's like, no, why would I do your company a favor? Mm-hmm. I don't have any like shares in the company or ownership in the company. So fuck your brand. And not only that, I'm not going to pay you to also advertise your shit. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding that, hey, these people actually have a brand. These are people who actually have like power by just saying or endorsing something, right? And this is why I personally watch what I say and, you know, what I endorse, right? And this is a lot of times, don't get me wrong, I still wear some name brand stuff, but a lot of times you'll see me in a plain black t-shirt, right? And what people don't understand, this is something you mentioned too, what people don't understand, this black t-shirt costs more than most designer t-shirts. Yeah, this regular black t-shirt is well made. It's very soft. It's nice. It fits me nice. I like it. But this damn black t-shirt is $100. It's damn near $100 t-shirt, right? And that's another thing. You don't realize when rich people are actually wearing expensive clothes. They just choose not to wear the brands. They choose not to wear the brands because they don't want to endorse. Mm-hmm. Not only that, they don't want to endorse, but they don't want to pay to endorse somebody's brand. It's like, I'm going to pay you to be your billboard. You see how ass backwards that is? Which, once again, why I wanted to talk about this, because our people are ass backwards. Yeah. Because you have like superstars and people who actually do have endorsement potential, but they're buying clothes and then endorsing somebody for free or negative because they paid to endorse them. Mm-hmm. So this is why they don't do that. The nerds know revenge of the nerds, right? They know better. Now, not only that, the next thing, they don't want to be seen. Yeah. They don't want, like, we, and it's because of our culture, of course. In our culture, if I have something on that shows I have money and proves that I'm kind of getting it, I'm doing well for myself, I get a positive reaction inside of our culture. Mm-hmm. Like, I see you. And then here comes the women. So now I get I get all the butt, right? So I get all the women. The fellas are dapping me up, telling me how fly I am. It's a positive thing, right? Yeah. Well, you reach a point where you make so much money, or it don't even have to be so much money, but you make a certain amount of money to where you no longer want to be seen now. It's like, I just want to be like invisible, right? So yeah, I got it, but I don't want you to know I have it. Why is that? Because majority of the planet hates rich people. Let's keep it real. Majority of the planet hates rich people. You rich bastard. Somebody probably mentioned me being an arrogant bastard talking about $100 t-shirt. I guarantee somebody's listening right now and they're like, this rich mother, this arrogant bastard talking about $100 t-shirt. And they're saying that only because the t-shirt's $100 and I mentioned it. That's it. No other reason why they hate me. It's just like, why you gotta say that though? Right? This is a reality we're living in. And once again, the nerds, smart people, they know not to showcase themselves.
Yeah.
Fly under the radar. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But we like to be seen because in our culture, once again, that means you get the butt, you get all the sex, you get all the fly women, you get the best of the women when you look, a certain way.
Yeah. It's peacock, right?
Peacock.
Yeah,
That's what, thank you.
Yeah,
Peacock.
peacock. Yeah.
Right. So that's the next one, right? And this is where it really like gets close to my heart because this is me. This is really me. When people say, "Oh, rich people don't spend money," they're investing it all. They're investing it all. It's like that may be true, but we have ways around like the investments to still buy the shit we want.
Yeah.
Right? There's always a way around it. Right? And it's not that we don't want to buy or they don't want to buy super, expensive clothes, oh, this t-shirt, because once again, some of these t-shirts that just look like regular plain busted up t-shirts, they cost more than designer clothes. But that's not it. It really is the point that we have so many nice things outside of clothes that I don't mind looking like a bum walking to my $1 million car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like flip-flops. Like you'll see me any given day. I got on flip-flops, basketball shorts, some Nike some Nike socks or something maybe. Just some regular little busted ass socks and my $100 t-shirt. I look like a regular hooper. And as a matter of fact, if you don't see my car and you just see me, you probably think I'm a bum. It's like, look at this bum ass. Like he look broke. And then you see me walk and you see chirp chirp and like, oh, that's his car.
Yep.
That's one of those things people don't understand. Majority of the really rich people, they have these nice toys. They have these nice cars. And when you're riding around these cars or flying, I'm going to take y'all to another level. When you're flying in your helicopter over traffic, you don't really give a fuck what you got on, right?
No, you're right about that.
Seriously, these motherfuckers get out in pajamas, right? Why? Because they take the elevator to the top floor, to the helipad. They get in the helicopter, fly over your ass in traffic so they don't get there. They're not seen. Land exactly where they are going, which is probably on top of another building.
Exactly.
Go into the private entry and go right to their floor and into their house. Bingo. Never had to be seen. Never gave a shit about what kind of designer they had on. Why? Because they rode in their helicopter.
Yeah.
Right? They rode in their helicopter.
You're right. But it's funny because you mentioned that, and I was thinking about it as you were talking about it too. Is I think about it. It's like you said, most wealthy people, they don't, and even with the cars, right? Because they have their toys. But then, if you notice, if you do research, if you see them out and about, right? When you actually look and you know who they are, or they're in places you're in, like a lot of them, they don't have the flashiest car. Like they have some white, something silver, something black. Absolutely. And they're driving around, and that's mostly like their everyday car. And it blends in. Something you can pull up, they can park, go to the grocery store they want to, and you'd be like, it might be a nicer car. But sometimes it's even older. And it's like, okay, and they get out and they look extra regular because they don't want to be bothered. They want to try to get in, get out. And that's if they're even doing something for themselves. And that was the point I wanted to make is people are judging what rich people do or how they see them. I'm like, y'all don't see them. Right. Like, y'all think these rich people finna put on their Sunday best, nicest clothes to walk around so paparazzi can take their photo.
Absolutely.
No, like they having these private parties, these galas, these balls, these charity functions that you aren't invited to. Your net worth does not come anywhere near these.
Exactly.
They're having these private retreats and getaways, and you might be lucky if you have like a small fraction of people that are in these categories that are using social media and they post about it and you see glimpses of it and you're like, oh, and they have name brands you've never heard of on, and you might look at the clothes like, oh, that's a nice shirt. But yeah, like that's their festivities, not what you happen to see that somebody candidly caught them walking around in. The other thing I'll say, and this is probably not true when you count, because there's been like this whole weird swing with like purses now. So like purses and handbags, like they're crazy. But like most of the brands that you know, that you think are so great or whatever, and a lot of times you want to buy it, you want to have the brand as big as you can on there. Most of their most expensive clothing are suits.
Yes.
There are men who work on Wall Street that will pay, 5 figures for suits. And those suits have
for
little
those of y'all
brands
who
on
don't
those.
understand, because I think when we say 5 figures, I don't think people like put it like
Together.
to numbers. It's like $10,000
or more,
right? So think about somebody paying $15,000 for a suit, $20,000 for a suit. This is a real thing, right? And there is no designer gear out there that you can find that cost
that much. Yes,
much as that
exactly.
suit.
Like that outfit. Y'all done seen the little things now. All right, tell me what you're wearing. How much is that shirt? How much is the pants? Like, $600, $1,000 for the shirt. They'll be like, oh, $2,000 for the pants. There are suits where if you get the whole suit, which is just the jacket, this ain't even a 3-piece, just the jacket and the pants, it's like $20,000.
Yep.
And some of these suits, these are Prada, Louis Vuitton, all those, they're suits. And the only place you see that brand is like on the inside of the jacket, under the pocket, not being seen. Yep. They buy and will wear very expensive things, not for the brand, but for the quality of the good.
Absolutely.
And yes, there's a brand component to that quality, but it's clearly not for it to be a billboard or a banner. It's because I can afford it. It's nice. Hell, I'm wealthy. The only places I shop, these are the stores where I go. So I'm just going to pick between the Burberry store or the Louis Vuitton store. So I went in Louis Vuitton that day. And it's like, I like this one. And I think that's the factors that people don't take into account. Like, oh, they don't spend money on, I'm like, like Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills is a real thing, right? Like there aren't places that when you walk in, the least expensive thing in there is 4 figures. It's $1,000 or less.
Yes.
It's because very wealthy people will spend that very easily. It's like you going to the store and buying something that costs $10. So to say they don't buy or spend their money on nice things, where you might be as close to right as possible, and this is if we giving, like we extending, we reaching for you, is they spend less of their income or net worth on clothes and nice things than you do. Just because they're so wealthy.
I really want to I think this is it's gonna be a punch in the mouth to some people, but it's gonna really hit home, right? We can agree that we've heard multiple times of these high-end clothing brands, clothing stores, boutiques, etc., ostracizing or fucking with black people, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is not for you, black man. Hey, Oprah, we don't make this for you and your kind. Now, I'm saying this because we keep talking shit about why we buying all these brands if they don't, rich people don't do that. The reason why I'm mentioning this is why would they be willing to ostracize you if you were the main purchaser? If you were the one keeping them in business, think about this. If black and brown people were the ones actually keeping them in business or bringing them all of the business, which, of course, we are the lower tier. If you do your research, you do the statistics, we're not the leading earners in the country, right? Some of us are killing it, but we're not the leading earners in the country or the world. Why would they ostracize or be willing to lose your business if we were the only ones supporting them? Because we're not.
Yeah.
Right.
They got their demographics.
Demographics.
They know who their customer base is.
The big dogs are the ones who are buying all the shit. You just don't know once again. Now, once again, I'm not making this video or I'm not making this podcast to say, hey, y'all should just keep going and buy the stuff. That's not what this is. What I'm saying is, number one, we as a whole gotta stop talking about shit we don't understand, know, or have any experience with. But number two, we need to understand the power of brand. And when I say brand, I want to say personal brand.
Yeah.
We need to understand the power of personal brand. We need to also understand the power of the dollar or the whatever we're denominating in.
Yeah.
The euro, the yen, whatever it is. You need to understand the power, because what we don't understand is the money we spend it to accumulate more resources. Y'all don't understand that yet. Many people buy, once again, some, especially in Black and brown community, many people buy these designer brands to accumulate attention. For more people, it's more for ass, sex.
Particular kind of attention.
Particular kind of attention.
I mean, but that's a resource.
Right. It can be a resource. That's right. It can be
Yeah.
a resource.
Yeah. What kind of resources do you really want? Yeah.
But the power, and I'm going to say this because you all have seen my transformation. For those of y'all who've been following me for the last 5-10 years, you've seen my transformation. The power of that dollar and buying something of substantial, price, the power that brings your personal brand is huge. Yeah. Let me tell you something. I was running a business and people wouldn't take me serious. You know the story.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the popcorn ceiling, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're like, how the fuck? This man is talking about how to save money, how to get wealthy, how to actually get the things you want in life. How the fuck are you going to teach us about getting wealthy and you got popcorn ceiling? That was a real comment. Somebody hit me with that, right? And I've talked about it before. But I just like to say that this is something that happened to me. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if that one person who had the balls to say it to me, imagine how many people actually were thinking. Mm-hmm. So now they're like, this motherfucker not the real deal. This motherfucker, he talking, but he got popcorn ceiling. He can't be that rich, right? Can't be. He got regular black t-shirt on. He can't be that rich. Come on. He can't be doing that well for himself. So now I'm missing out on sales. I'm missing out on attention, positive attention. I'm missing out overall because people think I'm faking. I wasn't. I was quote unquote being smart. Right?
Yeah.
Invest all of your money. Now, the moment I went out and I said, you know what? I'm going to show you all that I actually got what I say I have. Right? And honestly, I took it personal. I'll be honest with you. I really took it personal. I said, you motherfuckers, wait. I got something for you. Right?
Yeah. Didn't
need another dollar to come in. As a matter of fact, it kind of wasn't because they were talking about the popcorn ceiling. I went and bought a G Wagon. Mm-hmm. Because that's actually what I wanted. I was just staying down till I come up a little bit more. I wanted more, right? I didn't want to get the G Wagon till I was at 9 figures. I want 100 million and then I go ball out. But I did it a little earlier than that. I said, you know what? I'm going to actually go ahead and show them how this shit works, right? I went and got the G Wagon. I ain't really like the G Wagon because I'm tall. It ain't good for tall people. So I went and bought, something equivalent, Mercedes GLS 63, AMG, beautiful car. Right. I started going to buy the jewelry. I started doing that stuff because a lot of people say, why don't you wear jewelry? Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I got you. It's some pieces I've been wanting. Got you. Right. Went and bought the jewelry. Went and bought the real estate. Got the houses and stuff. Right. And now people are like, oh shit. The popcorn ceiling's gone. This motherfucker got jewelry everywhere. He's got all these cars. Like, whoa. Maybe he is who he say he is. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, like I told you, I've been having the money. I've been running a successful business, but I had to show you. Mm-hmm. That's the power of the dollar and why, not all, but why many people actually do that, right? One of the things that I've always said is I wouldn't have been able to help 80% of the people that I've actually helped through, teaching them the stock market, teaching them business, teaching them health. I wouldn't have been able to help 80% of those people if I did not make those purchases because they wouldn't have came.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have came. And the reason why I say this is because I want you to, a very easy way to look at this as an example that it works is to look at the fitness industry. When you go over to the fitness industry, there are fat trainers that exist. Man, they are. They exist. They're there. They're online. They're giving, great advice. Some of them.
Oh yeah, very
really
good.
good, right? But they don't get the money. They don't get the attention. They don't get the sales, the customers. They can't help people because nobody listens to them because they are fat trainers.
Mm-hmm.
But the stupid motherfucker with the 6-pack of abs and the big biceps, that's the one that gets all the customers. That's the one that gets all the attention. And that's the one that usually ends up making the best business, or at least making the best amount of money, or the most amount of money out of that industry.
Yep. Why?
Because once again, personal brand and putting that money into the personal brand. He didn't have to have the knowledge. He didn't have to be the best trainer. He just looked better than most of them.
Yeah. That's the attention grabber.
And that's the attention grabber. Mm-hmm. And the same thing works with almost anything else. It don't matter what I'm doing, right? I've seen entrepreneurs who are, what do they call them? Like the cleaners, the people who clean like the professional buildings, like it's like the service cleaners. I always forget their name, but the service cleaners, yeah. They, make decent money. And at the end of the day, if they tell you, hey, yeah, I'm a cleaner. Yeah, I clean buildings. I have contracts. And I go in and I clean the buildings. If they just look regular, they got, clean clothes on, you treat them like a janitor.
Yeah, yeah.
If the motherfucker pulls up in a Lamborghini and say, yeah, we contract buildings out with cleaning, you're like, oh my God. Like, this is huge. This is huge. And then you instantly put some respect on their names. And then you ask them, how can I do that? How can I get into that business? Because you look like you got it figured out. This is not something that's only perpetuated in the Black and brown community. This is across the board. I get a lot of, I say, my white boys, and I'm using quotations like my white boys, but seriously, like my white boys, good friends, right? I get their attention because they're like, fuck, bro, how'd you get that car?
Yeah.
Well, just tell me what I got to do because you're killing it, right?
That Lambo speaks all languages to all people. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's no color barriers there, right? So once again, this transcends pretty much all races. It's your ability to show your report card, pretty much, and this is the adult report card. Yeah,
but I want to jump in on that too because you were talking about the sustaining, right, and how businesses sometimes will ostracize certain customers and understand that. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to what we're talking about is understanding the view that you have of the world, and specifically when you're gonna speak about something. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important because you talked about the car. Anyway, this is in my brain already, but when you think about what people are doing to validate their success, right, and the people who a lot of times comment on, wealthy people not spending their money on things, they don't even open their mind up, I think, wanting to see it. Because here's the thing, I don't have one, Tay don't have one. To my knowledge, he ain't put a down payment on one yet. I don't know. But yachts, right? Like literally, this is something that is meant to float out in the middle of the ocean. Not meant for a whole bunch of people to even like take part in the enjoyment of or to see. But those are the biggest status symbols right now. Like, it's not even real estate, although real estate is one. And most people who have those gigantic, gorgeous, like, estates, you don't even know they have them. And, like, you're not even doing your research to know they have them. Mm-hmm. You're looking, like I said, you're just looking at these still captured photos of people walking around in clothes that you just don't know what they are. And you're assuming that they don't spend their money on things. But literally for them to buy a name brand shirt, pants, whatever, and go out in it, even sometimes for them a car, like they have car collections, they're gonna go buy, it's not doing it. So their level is like even more, right? And so I'm talking about yachts. These are people that buy art, artists you've never heard of, and they spend like they said 8 figures on a piece of art that you have no like ability to even understand why it's worth that much. but you're saying they don't spend money on these nice things, and I'm like, yo, like you don't get it. Like, who was at the Sotheby's auctions? Like, it ain't people who are broke saying, you know what, I'm gonna find a way to scrounge up a couple million. No, it's really wealthy people in rooms full of other really wealthy people,
Facts.
all, or now virtually, all saying, you know what, I want to buy something really nice with my money. Like, they do. They just look at stuff and value different things than you even think about. I mean, I don't know about you, but growing up, and even now sometimes still, I don't really think about just buying a big ass gemstone just to have
No,
it.
not at all.
But it's people that literally, like, they gonna gather around and try to buy a sapphire that they think is worth $9 million or more dollars, and they gonna just spend their money.
Absolutely.
Because for them, that's a status symbol to be able to walk around and say, oh yeah, you know, I bought that last week. Oh, John, I heard you got a new yacht. Oh yeah, well, your third mansion in California. Oh yeah, like, that's the conversation.
Yes.
It ain't, oh, that's hey, that Louis you rocking, hey, you dripping today. They don't care about that. Like, the conversation is totally different. Like, they'll wear a watch that's anywhere between $10,000 to $1 million, and sometimes won't even talk about it.
Yeah.
And some stuff you won't, like, if, and here's the other thing too, because I love this story to death. The Jay-Z Cristal, right? It's he talked about Cristal so much, made so much money. And Cristal was like, yeah, this ain't for y'all.
Right.
Like, he can afford it because he's rich. And he was like, man, he felt offended. And he went and started his own thing.
Yep.
But the same thing about these watches. Like, if rappers, a lot of people in our culture, if these rappers weren't talking about watches, you wouldn't know those names for nothing.
At all.
You wouldn't know them for nothing. People been wearing those watches for years. Years.
Absolutely.
People own multiple of them. And they've been wearing them. And you've been seeing them in photos. You just don't know
didn't
what
even know.
they are. And that's the thing about it, is like, you just don't know. Like, you're talking about it, you see it, you don't know. And honestly, I had to recognize it too, because I'd go and I started and being around people that have more money. And this is the other thing too. Like, sometimes the people that you see that are really wealthy, one of the reasons they're really wealthy is they were prepared for their money when they got it.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that we know that are more like what we would consider our culture or our peer group in the sense of, like, where we grew up, how we grew up, color of our skin, our age group. If they got a stupid amount of money, you're right. You gonna see it. Like, it is gonna be obnoxiously clear that they have a lot of money. Now, they might be blowing it, but they have a lot of money at the time. But there are other people, and Tay said, he's like, you know, they're going to have their slacks and khakis with the shirt because they've been playing golf their whole life. And what do they do when they got spare time? They're going to go play golf. So they dress like they finna go play golf. At any given moment, another billionaire would be like, hey, can you come to the golf course on this random Tuesday? And I'm like, yeah. Let me drop off the Ferrari.
Yep.
I'm going to go and get the GMC Yukon because that's what has my clubs in it. And you gonna see them ride around in the Yukon and hop out with their Sperry's on, whatever they wearing, about to go play golf. And you're not gonna know that, hey, dude just parked his Ferrari in the car with his Lamborghini that you never see because he ain't bringing it to your neighborhood.
In a club, in a country club that costs $250,000 a year to be a part of.
Yeah, that you are never at because like, you don't even see it.
Absolutely.
It's like an endangered species or something. Like, you only see these people in the certain light you see them because somebody's photographed them like it's National Geographic.
Yes.
You haven't actually went out into their environment and studied them or interacted with them at all. So it's just like, yeah, when you say that, you probably just need to, like, chill out or just figure out, like, you know, maybe if I'm gonna speak on this particular person, let me look at what their background is and see what they do. Because saying just really wealthy people, rich people don't spend money on stuff, you just wrong. They just ain't telling you because they have no reason to.
Right.
No reason
Loud and wrong. So yeah, family, I just felt like I had to come in and say that because it's one of those things that really grinds my gears. But also, I wanted to make a teaching moment out of that to say, hey, focus on your personal brand. You know, eat right. You know, take care of your personal, your appearance, if you will, and just make sure that is one of the most, I would say, admired things about you.
Oh, yes.
I mean, even if, you know, you don't have to be born a certain way or get plastic surgery or anything. People can admire you for whoever you are and however you look. People can admire you for always just being well put together when you're out.
Yes.
And it doesn't include, you know, having designer stuff. You're just like, man, you just always look well put together. You just always smell good. You always smell really good. Man, your hair just always looks really nice. Like, just little stuff like that. Personal appearance.
Yep.
So focus on that. Leave us a 5-star review. And if you got any questions, put your topics in that 5-star review. And other than that, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.